Weather portion of Ag Week. Now, I think it's interesting to look at the U.S. Drought Monitor movie of the summer one more time. Remember, the Drought Monitor, not necessarily a reflection of the topsoil or the water that's standing in the fields or that sort of thing, but rather the deep moisture profile. So it rains an inch, this doesn't change much, but it rains solid for a month or doesn't rain for a month, and we see significant changes. Going back to midsummer, July 1st, it was, of course, extreme drought over many areas of the northern plains. Most of the Corn Belt was sitting in very good shape. And watch out, during the course of the summer, that changed. The drought became worse during the month of July across most areas in North Dakota and South Dakota, began to turn dry in parts of Iowa. Most of the Corn Belt, Bean Belt was looking just fine. As we get on into late August, most of North Dakota is beginning to improve, and actually surface soil conditions have gotten pretty good in September across the north. In fact, in some places, it's been too wet for harvest. Meanwhile, down across much of Iowa, things have gotten fairly dry, with some areas of fairly severe drought in especially south central Iowa. Not a serious problem, but something to watch as we move into next year. Drought areas have been shifting, and again, this is the deep moisture profile, not just what's on the surface. So as we go into the overwinter season, it'll be interesting to see how much of these areas get significant snow or spring rains, because we may be looking at the beginning of next summer's concerned areas. Eastern Montana, maybe the western Dakotas, kind of borderline in the Red River Valley area. Southern plains are actually looking pretty good right now. The Corn Belt beginning to dry relative to the way it was last year. Meanwhile, weather going on this week. We do have some cool temperatures dropping into the northern plains, probably some freezing temperatures early this week, about Tuesday. Warm weather, of course, not as warm as it was back in the summertime. And as we go through the week, we're probably going to look at a rebounding area of cool dropping into the northern plains by the upcoming weekend. Precipitation, not too much. There'll be one area moving out. There may be a tropical system along the eastern coast, but most of the United States is probably going to be fairly dry here this upcoming week. As we move to the second week, and now, of course, we're talking well on into October, we may start talking about one chance of a rain system coming out of that cold snap next weekend or early in the week following in the northern plains, and that's about it. That'll gradually sag southward. A lot of the northern plains area is going to be fairly dry and also relatively mild. For the most part, through mid-October, I don't see the weather turning particularly cold anywhere. So the overall pattern, we are looking at mostly drier weather setting up, a few spots of freezing temperatures in the northern plains, and overall a cooler pattern than we've been seeing so far this fall.